After so 20 seasons, you decided to call time on your playing career. I'm sure you're glad to get that decision sort of over and done with. You've been thinking about it for quite some time.
Yeah, I have been. Probably the last couple of seasons, I've been thinking about it more and more. It's a situation where you come to an age, and the way the club's going now, it's going from strength to strength, and we're bringing in younger and better players, and it's one of those things with the age as well. My age, and the role I have with the club, with the coaching side of it. I just want to focus more on the coaching side rather than player coach. It gets difficult at times when trying to train and keep yourself sharp, keep yourself sort of match fit and available, and trying to focus on Aaron and Ross for match day. So I think it's just time to focus on them two boys, get them ready, as well as I have been, and just fully focus on the coaching side of things.
You sort of calling it a day, sort of hanging the gloves up. Did you ever think it'd sort of come round to it? Did you ever expect the sort of feedback that you got when it was announced?
No, actually, I was sitting yesterday, and it just seemed to be never ending. My phone was off the hook. If I'm honest with you, it just kept buzzing, and a bit overwhelmed, if I'm honest with you, with all the feedback and all the comments that were left, and especially from the social media team at the club. It was unbelievable. I never thought I would have got the response I got as well from the support. Listen, I sat yesterday and it was a wee bit sort of taken back by it all, and it was fantastic, and I've got a lot of the stuff that they put up, and there'll be memories that'll hold forever, if I'm honest with you.
Going back to the start, when it all began, sort of many years ago, when you came here, what was the reason for joining Glentoran back in 2002?
Well, obviously, I got released from West Brom. West Brom into the Premier League at that stage, and my contract was up, so I got released and came back home for 2 weeks, and obviously a couple of offers, the Glens, and obviously Linfield was one of the offers as well, and I just thought, Glentoran was a better fit for me. The gaffer, Roy Coyle, just seemed to want me a bit more, and it just seemed a better fit. I liked the way he was talking in the meeting with me, and he was just straight, and everyone knows Roy Coyle, he's straight down the line and open and honest, and I just liked that about him, and it just, as I say, it was a better fit for me, and looking back on it, it was a fantastic decision, and one that I'll always cherish, and all the memories I have through the 20 seasons. It's made a lot of great friends here, and hopefully I can stay here for a long time into the future.
That first season, it was almost the perfect season you could have had. Just talk us through the whirlwind of that season.
Yeah, again, the first season was probably the best season out of all 20. If I'm honest with you, the team we had was frightening, and we nearly done the clean sweep, and it was again, looking back on it now, it was a massive opportunity, and you sort of come into the team and it was like, oh flip, this is easy type thing, this ain't that difficult, but you sort of then look back and go, you sort of took it for granted slightly, if I'm honest with you. Managed to win the league, obviously League Cup, Antrim Shield, and get into the Irish Cup final, and again we might have took it, I'm not saying we took it lightly, not want to Coleraine went out and they were the better team on the day, and they beat us fair and square, but we maybe could have prepared a bit better for it. Again, no grumbles. By the second season, I had every single medal in the that I could win. So within 2 years, I'd won everything I could possibly win. So I think it was a great start for me.
You won obviously every medal after year one. Where does the drive continue? Is it just you want to win more?
Yeah, well that's it. Again, the boys in the change rooms, like so when you have Leaper, Smickers, Chris Walker, and Nicky and Sass and Gary Smith, and just those sort of names in in that changing room, they don't let you sort of rest on your laurels. It's cutthroat, and it can be nasty at times, and especially I think I was only 22 at the time, and it was you sort of coming in and you're having fun and having a bit of a laugh and a bit of a giggle. Sort of those boys are a wee bit more wiser, a bit older, a bit wiser, and but they sort of stand you in good stead and don't let you rest on your laurels and push you and drive you. And I'd like to think that sort of some of that rubbed up on myself there, getting into the latter years of playing, and where you're sort of asking players to do a bit more and question them at times, are they doing enough? And I'd like to think that those guys rubbed off on myself and give me that experience to put on the other players.
After winning all the medals you could possibly win after 2 years and coming back from having been at West Brom, did you ever have any sort of drive to go back across the water, given what you've achieved so early on in your career?
Obviously you do. You come home at 22, you still have those, you still have that drive, the hunger to get to play. At that stage it wasn't full-time football, we were still part-time, so you still had that hunger and drive to get back across. But I think as you're sort of here 2, 3, 4 seasons and you get into that sort of mid-20s, sort of late 20s, you sort of you have to realise that it's not going to happen. But listen, we were still winning trophies at that stage. We were in Europe every year, so I was focused on playing football. I was focused on winning, trying to win things. Obviously, getting into the latter end of it, we were up against a really strong Linfield side, and we were quite dominant. So it made it a bit more difficult to win things. So, and then the financial side of it sort of hindered us as well. But I think, listen, you always try and give your best and do your best, and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you make mistakes, and sometimes you're brilliant. So I think you always try to, and the focus was to try to, but I think after maybe 2 or 3, 4 seasons being back home, the focus was to do as well as I could for Glentoran.
And out of all the major honours that you've won, where would you rank the 3 league titles? You know, the first one being in your first season,
yeah.
The last one being, albeit 10 years ago or even more. Mm-hmm. Where would you rank the 3 league titles and what you've won?
I always say, people probably ask me what's the best period or best part of the career, and I would probably say either the first season that I was here, or that 2013 season, when we sort of, let's face it, we did a bit of a miracle, if I'm honest with you. Under Eddie Patterson, we won that Irish Cup, and after all the financial troubles that year, it was an absolute miracle what we did that year. We just pulled it from, I'm not going to say we pulled it from nowhere, because we'd still really good players, but we did what a lot of people didn't think we could do. We won a major trophy that year and got us back into Europe. And again, the financial state at that stage was critical. It was very critical. But again, I've said this before, winning that Irish Cup that year and getting that money boost for the club went a long way to saving the club and stop it from going under.
Speak about that in terms of what was that season like as a player mentally to deal with? You know, you've the physical side of it and playing every week, and you know, you're used to playing with a team that was challenging, and this team at the time, you know, there was issues on off the pitch that you couldn't control. What was that like, just playing through that?
Well, you could see it slowly happening throughout the years in terms of the money side of things, and you could see some players leaving, and obviously asked to take pay cuts, and certain ones wouldn't take pay cuts, and the club having to let other ones go because of they're on too much money and stuff like that. Their wages were too high, but you could see it sorely. You could see it sort of happening, slightly sort of leaning towards that way, because the bigger and better players were leaving. But that season in particular was difficult, because I remember at one point we weren't getting paid. I think we went 8 weeks. I think it was 8 weeks without getting any wages or anything at that stage, and some of the boys couldn't afford to come to training because they had no money, and it was difficult. I remember before the Ballinamallar game, we didn't actually train that week, and we actually beat them 4-0. But no, that was a difficult period. Colin Nixon was captain and did a lot of mediating between the board and the team, and he done quite well for us that year in terms of sorting out the changing room. But it was a difficult period, but we came together as a team and we used it as a force to go and win that major trophy that year.
You personally, you're seeing players you've been playing with over the years sort of going and leaving, and you're sort of, are you thinking to yourself, am I going to be the last one here to turn the light off? What was your motivation and reason for staying at the club?
I think once you get to a certain age, then you get your, I think it's a different drive for you. I'd won a lot of trophies sort of getting into my 30s and early 30s. I'd obviously won a lot of trophies and that, and it becomes a different drive, a different sort of, probably in your early 20s you're looking for kind of get a bit more money or get a longer contract or stuff like that, but it becomes a bit more when you sort of you see that end of your career coming. It's a bit, can I create something here, like maybe a legacy or something that will stand me for a lifetime probably. How many games I seen Colin Nixon's target at one stage, and I thought I might have got it, but yeah, it was a hell of a target to reach. But just things like that, it becomes a different focus, and I think over the years, and I'm not shy at saying it, I probably took maybe 3 or 4 pay cuts over the years with the club, and it's just one of those things where the money didn't, I'm not saying the money didn't matter, because we have to live and we have to pay our bills, but the money side of it came a bit of a backward sort of in my mind, and the main focus was trying to create something that would outlive me and be here for a lifetime or a generation. Or
you've been at the club since 2002. After 10 years, you had your testimonial. What was your testimonial? What was that like to build up?
It began brilliant. Obviously, when the club says they granted me a testimonial, I was honoured, and they're not easy. They're difficult things to organise, and albeit at the end of it, there's a major sort of boost for you. But it's one of those ones where they're not easy to organise. It's a different thing to go through and to deal with, and a lot of nerves and sort of trying to. Hopefully people come, hopefully people show up, and it's people, the people on the committee and stuff saying, "No, they'll back you. You'll get backed and by the supporters, or you'll backed by people around the club." And it's like, it's just always in the back of your mind. It's you're a bit nervous, a bit apprehensive, but they're fantastic things to have, and to gain one. Obviously, you have to be at the club for 10 years, and it's to be granted one. They're unbelievable, and again, a lot of hard work, had a lot of effort, and again, it's just at the end of it, there's a massive goal for you, but they are difficult things to deal with as well.
I suppose their testimonial, this modern day era, you don't see them happening very often with footballers these days. Although Marcus is obviously one with the club ourselves, but.
Yeah, again, when I first joined, we had the likes of Chris Walker had one, Leaper had one, I think Colin Nixon, Jason Hill had one. So I've seen quite a few, if I'm honest with you. But the last sort of 10 years, maybe 15 years, Moko's the only one that's sort of been here that length of time. But it's good for Moko. I hope, again, if Moko can go and if we can do something this year and hopefully get a major trophy this year or get into next year, and we're pushing for major trophies again. Hopefully Moko gets a good back-in from the support and can generate a lot of support for his testimonial, fingers crossed.
In terms of memorable moments, a couple that sort of stand out personally, and I've even seen them mentioned online, is that first game in Europe when you joined the club. Yeah. What was that like?
No, again, I was nervous. Again, I was only 22, so in terms of footballing years, you're not sort of that experienced at 22, and especially being a goalkeeper. I was nervous getting into the game, but I just went in, and just next thing you know, the shots started raining in, and thankfully I managed to save a few. Again, in terms of memories and in terms of things that I remember through the years, and like that Irish Cup run in 13. There's the Korean save. We played then, I think, Cliftonville the following week here. I made a save early on with it. We had to win that game to win the league.
You can't just sit there and say the Korean save. That save.
Yeah.
What that save meant, and
yeah. Again,
still talk about this day. What can you remember of it on the day?
I think it's more reactions than anything. It's just sort of the ball was played across, and you're just getting yourself into positions to try and get something on the ball, and just thankfully I managed to get my hand on it and get it back over across the crossbar. But in terms of saves, and this is quite strange. I actually remember more of the bad stuff than I do the good stuff, if I'm honest with you. It's always the one that slips through your hands, or the one you miss kick, or the save you shoot it, or the shot you should have saved, and I tend to remember those ones, and it's like, but it's over 20 years. It's difficult to go through 20 years and not have any sort of mistakes, you know what I mean? But it's one of those ones. I have a lot of fantastic memories, a lot of fantastic games, and again, I've won quite a lot over those 20 seasons, so I can look back on it with good memories, and I will look back on it in good memories, and I'll maybe go back and have a look at some of the games early on, or where we did win major trophies, and try and sort of get my memory going again about the good stuff.
You were speaking before we actually came on here in terms of the appearances, so it's 742 appearances and 255 clean sheets. You've sort of ratioed that out as 2.5 clean sheets a game. In terms of the only goal you scored, it's one goal every 742 games. Talk us through the goal that you scored against Elliott that day.
Yeah, well, again, I think it sort of works itself out. Maybe 1 in 3, every sort of third game, it's a clean sheet, which isn't a bad ratio. If you were a striker, you'd be happy with that, with your goal scoring side of things. But the goal. Again, people say to me to this day, "Did you mean it? Did you mean it?" And I go, "I meant it. Like, I went for it." Again, he was off it's probably something that I maybe shouldn't look for as a goalkeeper, but
do you look for it?
Not particularly. And on occasions, if I see, obviously you're looking about the pitch and you're looking who's in bad positions, and I just seen that he was in a bad position. He was high off his line, and there was a bit of wind behind me, and I was just like, do you know what, I'm going to stick my boot through it and just keep it on target and see where it gets me. But I think you seen by my celebration that I meant it. I think I went over a bit too much for the celebration. If I could do it again, I wouldn't celebrate like that.
Is that your goalkeeper union hat coming on?
No, well, again, it's when you're playing, it's sort of, listen, you don't want to see anyone making mistakes, and that's that side of it is from the sort of the goalkeeping union part. I don't want to see anyone getting out and making mistakes, but it's dog eat dog on the pitch, and if you can gain a wee bit of I don't know, if you can get a wee heads up off someone, listen, he would probably do the exact same thing to me.
You've worked with some great managers over the years, in terms of you mentioned Roy Coyle, the gaffer at the start, and how big of an influence he had on you signing for the club, and you mentioned about Eddie in 2013 in that Irish Cup one. What's the manager's been like over the years?
Well, obviously Coyle was the main one. Coyle's I won the most trophies under Roy Coyle. So he brought me to the club, so I owe him sort of everything I've done here within Glentoran. He's seen something in me and signed me, and I'm thankful, ultimately thankful to him. Obviously Big Alan as well, won a league title under Alan, gentleman, top guy. Eddie Patterson won he made me captain and won 2 major trophies under Eddie. Again, and I liked, there was a lot of boys there that sort of weren't here that long. A couple of boys here weren't that long that I really liked, the likes of Gary Haven. I think he maybe had a bit more backing, a bit more financial backing that might have worked out better for him. And obviously Windy was manager at one stage. We won a trophy with Windy as well. I think obviously now Mick's going to take us, I think, on the bigger and better things, and hopefully we can generate more trophies over the near future.
You mentioned about the relationship Coyle had, and obviously he brought you to the club. Your relationship with Roy Coyle didn't sort of end when he stopped being manager.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's forever about at the minute. He's been here in different roles. What sort of advice has he gave you over the years from after he became a manager?
He's always there. He's always there to talk to, and I have done that at times. I think there was obviously periods when sort of your contract's running out and stuff, and then other clubs talk to you, and you sort of have a chat with him, and he's been there and done it multiple occasions and won far more than I can ever dream of. So if anyone knows how to handle situations or deal with things, it's him. So I have bent his ear at times, and again he has given me good information, and then he's forever torturing me at the minute. He texts me every day about training, so he's torturing the life out of me. So I might give him someone else's number here, just to torture them instead.
Obviously, you mentioned the 2013 Irish Cup win and how much it meant to the club. I suppose where we are today. What do you group as players, given where the club was at that stage? The one in 2015, you were obviously the captain. Elliott made you captain. You lifted the Irish Cup here at the Oval. What was that like? Again,
something different, completely different. I think we maybe played in an Antrim Shield final here, so maybe that and the Antrim Shield final are the only 2 trophies that I've won at the Oval. Something different, and it was fantastic. Well, the day itself was brutal. It was absolutely stinking weather. It was awful. Again, cup finals, you don't really enjoy them. They're nervous. You don't want to make mistakes. You want to go out, and obviously, if you don't win, it's horrendous. But it's after the cup final you really enjoy it. It's the relief. Everyone's buzzing, and when you win a major trophy with a club like Glentoran, it's something to savour. Like they're fantastic nights and sometimes fantastic weeks after. But yeah, again, great experience winning a major trophy here, and again being captain and the kids and the family and all being here. It was a great experience, and maybe something we can do down the line once the ground gets redeveloped.
It's funny you mentioned there about the kids and your family. I can remember an iconic video when the photos were being taken, your 2 kids are running away because the explosions went off.
Yeah,
they're going to hate that, the seers go on seeing that.
I know. Well, again, the experience of winning it before, we won it obviously in 13, and they were there also, and they just remembered the champagne, and they were getting sprayed with champagne in their faces and all, and so they obviously remembered that, and they didn't want to go through that experience again.
So they've done a runner.
Yeah.
You sort of transitioned to coaching then when Mick came in. He sort of obviously brought Marianne in and had his ideas and what he wanted to do with the keepers side of things, and that was your early stage transition into coaching. What was it like then?
Again, when I first came in, I think I might have been 37, 38. So I knew it was coming at some stage. I knew I had to sort of hang them up at some stage, and my thinking was right. Kieran Stitt, who was the keeper coach, that left with Gary and Leaper, who brought him in. So he left with those guys, and the position was available. So I spoke to Mick about it, and he was more than happy for me to take up the role. Obviously, I still wanted to challenge. I still think I could have played a bit more that season. But Marion came in, we had a bit of a rocky start. But after that, for about 16 games, we went unbeaten for 16 games, and he was really good. after Christmas, it sort of went a bit pear-shaped slightly, but and I got back in again. I got back into the team once or twice, and then got back in, get into the cup run, which was really good. I enjoyed that experience. Again, a bit nerve-wracking, being out for so long and then having to just switch it on again and start playing and producing, and especially the games that I got asked to play in. They were very big games and important games. So it was good to get involved, and it was good to go out and actually produce some level of performance.
And then obviously the Irish Cup that we did win ultimately off the back of COVID. You played in that. It was even the journey in playing in that Irish Cup was crazy given what happened.
Well, obviously COVID hit, and then it sort of went up in the air slightly, and again I just managed to get in before COVID hit, and was a bit unsure what was going to happen, and we had a few sort of warm-up games once we were allowed to get back to football, and leading up to the Irish Cup, and I did quite well, to be fair, in those games, and I sort of had a wee inkling in my stomach that I might get the nod, but I wasn't really sure. But so I was just prepared as if it was a normal game, and I had my sweets ready for the bench for the semi-final. Yeah, and it was he just gave me the nod. I was getting my sweets ready to go and sit on the bench, and he gave me the nod, so I put them back in and get ready to play.
And what was that like, that game?
Again, nerve-wracking. Again, there's just a lot of pressure. The nerves was going, even at 30, I think it was 38 at that stage, 39. You just feel the pressure. You just want to do well for everyone, do well for the club, do well for the supporters, and just get the club in a position where we can challenge again for league titles. And you just want the best for everybody, and to go into the game and obviously do what I did in that semi-final was brilliant. Like, it had a great buzz, and again, it was fantastic. So it was really good, really good.
And now the transition is went sort of from just being a player coach number 2 to actually sort of number 3, and then transition fully into being a full-time goalkeeper coach at the club. What does your roles, talk about your role now, sort of overseas goalkeepers from top to bottom?
Yeah, well, now basically I'm still full-time with the club and full-time coach now. I just don't deal with the first team. It's basically, we have a full-time academy with Ashfield School. I'm in there 3 sessions a week with the goalkeepers there, and obviously that's mid-afternoon, so we're late afternoon training with the first team, so it all sort of fits well. Also, I liaise with managers throughout the academy on goalkeepers and try and source goalkeepers if and when needed with the academy. I try and get to some games with the academy and try and suss out who's coming through, and the level of goalkeepers. I don't go too low within the academy, just maybe 2 years before they would come into my sort of my sites and my training sort of schedule. But that side of it, maybe I go down probably 07 age group and try and make sure there's a level of goalkeeper coming through at a decent age, so when they do come up to that 16s, 18s bracket, that they're ready and able, and they're of a decent quality.
What's the future like then in terms of the goalkeeping department at Glentoran? Yeah,
again, it's looking good. Kai Back is in with our full-time academy at the minute. He's already been on the bench for the first team. We have Ryan Brown, who's an under 18 international. Mason Munn has just signed for Rangers. Rangers have just bought him, so he's going to Rangers here at the end of the season. Lorcan Donnelly, underage international. Just trying to think off the top of my head.
You've mentioned sort of 4 keepers there, all within 1 or 2 years of each other in terms of ages. Mm-hmm. What's the difference? What's the switch in them keepers from being good at their own age to, because once you hit a certain age, there's no age that matters.
Yeah, well, the difference is the physical side of it as well. It's okay, the ability side, if you need to have that physical element as well coming into men's football. Again, and they're doing that side of it with the full-time academy. They're doing that side of it with our gym that's available to them, so they can get that side of the game and build on that side of the game. So once they have the technical side of it, they go and get the physical side and get those attributes as well. Again, the pace of the ball, the pace of the game, can they handle that? Can they handle the pressure that's put on them, getting into dealing with the big boys and dealing with some big names in our changing room, and obviously the opposition changing rooms as well. So it's another factor, the mental side of it. So there's a lot of aspects to deal with. It's not just being a good goalkeeper. It's, can you handle the pressure? Can you handle the physical pressure? And can you make that step up into the pace and the power of first team football?
If you could sum up your last 20 seasons at Glentoran in 3 words,
Oh.
what would it be?
Oh flip, now you've put me on the spot there. You might have to edit this part. I'm gonna have to edit this part, big one.
Is there one word?
I would just say it's been an absolute pleasure. You never think when you're a kid that you're going to go, and I would like to think that I've created some sort of, and I don't like blowing my own trumpet. I don't like saying things like I've created some sort of legacy that my kids and their kids can maybe look back on and saying, oh, my dad or my granddad did this, or I when I first came to Glentoran, I knew nothing about Glentoran. I've been here 20 years, 20 seasons, and I know basically everything there is to know about the club. The club is, it means a lot to me now. I've basically lived a lifetime here. It's a massive chunk of my life. I get up in the morning, I think about Glentoran. I go to bed, I think about Glentoran, and it's just a massive part of my life. And it's just I just hope I've created something that my kids and their kids can sort of look back on and say, well, my dad or my granddad did this for this club, or yeah.
Have you got a message for the supporters?
Obviously, basically, thank you for the support. I realise you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. You're not going to suit everyone's styles, and it's just the nature of football, and it's just the way it goes sometimes. But again, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully, with me still being part of the coaching staff, we can see a lot more success. Maybe more than I got in my first 10 years. Hopefully we can get that in the next 10 years. Fingers crossed.